The moment awareness becomes stronger than impulse, a person becomes difficult to manipulate. Most men never become dangerous. They become distracted, emotionally predictable, easy to control without ever realizing it. A single opinion changes their mood. A delayed message ruins their peace. One moment of anger speaks louder than years of intelligence, and slowly, almost invisibly, they lose authority over their own mind. The unsettling part is, it feels normal while it's happening, because modern life rewards reaction, instant replies, instant outrage, instant emotional exposure. People speak before understanding what they feel. They defend themselves before asking why they felt attacked in the first place. And somewhere inside that noise, most men lose the ability to observe themselves honestly. But every once in a while, something shifts. Not dramatically, quietly. You pause before reacting. You notice how exhausting constant emotional performance has become. And for the first time, you begin seeing behavior instead of living inside it. People feel this shift before they can explain it. Not aggression, not dominance, something calmer, something harder to disturb. Because the truly dangerous man is not violent, he is deeply aware, and awareness changes how a man moves through the world. If this feels uncomfortably familiar, stay with it, because what follows is not information, it is recognition. And if you want to understand the patterns quietly shaping your mind, subscribe to KOMI Explains and remain until the end, not to be told what to think, but to see what you've been missing. Centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli observed something unsettling about power, not in kingdoms alone, but in people. It was never intelligence that broke them. It was emotional impulse that arrived too fast to question. In quiet rooms filled with political tension, he watched men collapse under their own reactions. A word spoken too early, a fear acted on too quickly, an ego mistake that felt like certainty in the moment. And afterward, regret arrived too late to matter, and beneath his observations was a single realization. The most dangerous person is not the one who controls others, but the one who understands his own reactions before they become decisions. And that pattern still exists. Only now it is harder to notice. People scroll to avoid silence, speak to avoid thinking, react to avoid feeling, and over time, they begin to believe their reactions are their identity. You've felt this too. A message you shouldn't have sent, a reaction that didn't match your intention, a moment where you became aware only after it passed. And this is where it begins. The day silence stops, feeling like weakness. Most people fear silence because silence removes distraction, and what remains is themselves. In silence, emotions stop hiding, insecurity, restlessness, unspoken thoughts. So people escape it quickly, but something changes when you don't. You notice the space between impulse and action. A message stays unread, and you don't rush. A comment lands, and you don't react immediately. A misunderstanding appears, and you pause instead of defending. At first, it feels unnatural, like you're doing something wrong by not reacting. But slowly, you notice something else. Power is not in response. It is in restraint. And restraint changes perception, because every uncontrolled reaction reveals something about you. Without words, you are already being read. When being alone stops feeling empty, solitude feels different at first. Too quiet, too direct, too honest. So most people fill it. Noise, scrolling, anything to avoid their own mind. But if you stay long enough, something shifts. You begin hearing yourself without interference, not the version shaped by attention, not the version built for approval, the unedited one. And it becomes uncomfortable, because you see what you usually avoid, how often you wanted validation more than truth, how many choices came from fear instead of clarity. how much energy went into appearing unaffected. And that realization doesn't arrive loudly, it just stays, because pretending not to care is still dependence. Real independence begins when you can sit with your own thoughts without escaping them. And once that happens, manipulation loses its grip. Not because the world changes, but because you do. The ability to feel emotion without obeying it. Most people confuse feeling with action. Anger becomes speech, fear becomes avoidance, discomfort becomes escape. But awareness creates distance, not suppression, separation. You can feel something without becoming it. And this changes everything internally, because emotions stop being instructions. They become signals. Anger can appear without control. Fear can rise without direction. Pride can speak without authority. And suddenly, you begin noticing patterns in real time. The shift in your voice before frustration fully forms. The tension in your body before anxiety spreads. The need for validation before you reach for it. And this awareness is not comfortable, because it removes the excuse of, "I didn't notice." Now you do, when your energy stops asking for attention. Some people enter rooms needing to be seen. Others enter and no longer require it. And strangely, they are felt more. Not because they try, but because they are no longer chasing. They don't rush silence. They don't force explanation. They don't perform certainty. And people adjust to that presence without understanding why. Conversations change. Reactions soften. People reveal more than they intended, not because of control, but because stillness exposes patterns, and awareness naturally sees what reaction misses. Most people live inside emotional motion, but awareness slows everything down, and once you see that clearly, it is difficult to unsee it. The moment you stop fighting your own mind, this is where everything becomes quiet, not perfect, just quieter. You stop arguing with every thought. You stop punishing every flaw. You stop trying to constantly prove improvement, and something unexpected happens. You become lighter, because most internal exhaustion was never life itself. It was resistance to it, the pretending, the suppressing, the overthinking. When that internal war reduces, clarity appears. Not dramatic clarity, simple clarity. And in that simplicity, strength forms. Not emotional intensity, but stability. The kind that does not collapse under reaction. But even then, life is not fully silent. Some days still feel unclear. Some thoughts still return without warning. Some reactions still happen before awareness catches up. And that is normal, because awareness is not perfection, it is recognition, and recognition changes everything over time. Most people will never notice this shift in themselves. They will continue reacting, continuing assuming, continuing mistaking impulse for truth. But a few begin to see it differently, and once they do, they no longer belong fully to unconscious reaction. They begin living in the space between feeling and action, and that space changes everything. Because the dangerous man was never the loudest, never the coldest, never the most dominant. It was the one who stopped abandoning himself inside impulse. The one who can observe his own mind without flinching. The one who can feel without being controlled. The one who sees patterns others live inside blindly, including his own. And maybe that is why awareness feels unsettling at first. Because once you see your mind clearly, you cannot unsee how often it was running on autopilot. And after that realization, silence is no longer empty. It becomes honest.